Aerial footage of African coastlines and deserts with soft suspenseful music. Narrator VO. In the theater of modern warfare, few weapons have shaped global military strategy like the Tomahawk missile. Born in the Cold War and perfected over decades, the Tomahawk is a long-range, subsonic cruise missile known for its precision and power. But now, a new chapter is unfolding. This is the story of the Tomahawk missile in Africa, a continent where geopolitics, counterterrorism, and foreign military interests converge. 1. Origins of the Tomahawk missile. Archive footage of Cold War-era U.S. Navy vessels and missile tests. Narrator VO. The Tomahawk missile was developed by the United States in the 1970s, initially as a nuclear-capable cruise missile. Designed for the Navy, it could be launched from ships and submarines, travel at low altitudes, and strike targets up to 1,600 kilometers away with devastating accuracy. Over time, it evolved from nuclear warhead variants to highly accurate conventional models with satellite and terrain-matching guidance systems. The most modern versions, such as the Block V Tomahawk, boast capabilities like in-flight retargeting and even anti-ship functionality. 2. Tomahawk deployment in Africa. Why and where? Footage of U.S. Navy destroyers in the Mediterranean Sea and drones over African landscapes. Narrator VO. Africa has not traditionally been a battlefield for Tomahawk missiles. However, that is changing. With rising extremist threats, piracy, and growing global competition over resources and influence, the United States and its allies have seen the strategic importance of the continent grow. Tomahawk missiles have been used off the African coast, particularly from naval vessels in the Mediterranean Sea. One of the most high-profile uses was during the 2011 NATO intervention in Libya. In the early stages, U.S. and British warships launched over 100 Tomahawk missiles to disable Libyan air defenses and radar installations. Cut to graphics showing missile trajectories from the Mediterranean to Libya. These strikes were designed to pave the way for manned aircraft and protect civilians under the United Nations mandate. The missiles flew undetected over vast desert terrain and struck with surgical precision. 3. Tomahawk's technology explained. Cut to animation of a missile's internal guidance systems. Narrator VO. The Tomahawk's power lies not just in its explosive payload, but in its guidance systems. It uses GPS Global Positioning System, TERCOM Terrain Contour Matching, DSMAC Digital Scene Matching Area Correlation, Inertial Navigation System INS. These allow it to fly hundreds of kilometers through valleys, deserts, or coastlines, hugging the Earth to evade radar. In a continent as geographically diverse as Africa, with jungles, deserts, savannas, and mountains, the Tomahawk is uniquely capable of navigating and striking with high confidence. 4. The political dimension. Cut to African Union summit footage and foreign military bases. Narrator VO. The use of Tomahawks in Africa is not just a military matter, it's a political one. African nations have raised concerns about foreign military activity on their soil. The United States operates bases in Djibouti, Niger, and other countries, mainly for counterterrorism and intelligence purposes. However, launching cruise missiles from nearby waters or territories raises questions. Who authorizes such strikes? What happens if civilians are harmed? Do African nations have a say in foreign military operations? In Libya, for example, the missile strikes helped remove a dictator, but also plunged the nation into years of civil war. Many African leaders now view such interventions with caution. 5. Counterterrorism operations in Africa. Cut to drone footage of suspected terrorist camps in Sahel. Narrator VO. Africa's Sahel region, spanning Mali, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso, has become a breeding ground for terrorist groups like ISIS Africa, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb (AQIM). Although drones and special forces are often the tools of choice, in extreme cases, cruise missiles like the Tomahawk could be deployed from U.S. Navy destroyers in the Gulf of Guinea or the Red Sea, to destroy high-value targets in remote locations, targets that are too dangerous or too politically sensitive for boots on the ground. 6. Future of Tomahawks in Africa. Footage of newer Tomahawk variants in African ports with foreign ships. Narrator VO. With the latest Block V upgrades, the Tomahawk is no longer just a land strike weapon. It can now be used against moving naval targets, giving the U.S. and its allies an edge in maritime conflicts, particularly important as China expands its presence in African ports. Could Africa become the next frontier for naval standoffs? Already, nations like South Africa, Egypt, and Algeria are modernizing their navies. But none possess the cruise missile capability of the Tomahawk, a tool that represents not just military might, but strategic leverage. 7. Local impact and global implications. Interviews with African security analysts, civilians, and Western military officials. Narrator VO. The presence of Tomahawks in Africa, whether launched from international waters or through proxy operations, reshapes the regional balance of power. While they offer deterrence and precision, they also risk drawing African nations into larger global rivalries. From the deserts of Libya to the shores of East Africa, every launch echoes louder than just an explosion, it carries the weight of history, politics, and the future of warfare. Closing scene, missile launching from a destroyer as sun sets over the sea. Narrator VO. The Tomahawk missile is more than a weapon. In Africa, it is a symbol of power projection, of foreign influence, and of a continent at the crossroads of security and sovereignty. Screen fades to black with text. Tomahawk in Africa. The quiet strike of a global arsenal.